Hello and welcome to Perspectives, where we take a deep dive into the issues of the day and where we take a look at people's opinion on such issues. I am Ruth Osime. Millions of air passengers travel each year, but the problem is that many people are not aware that the law is on their side or even that passenger rights exist. In fact, 85% of air passengers do not know their rights. A few weeks back, Air France flight AF132 delayed passengers coming from Paris to Lagos, leaving them stranded at the Paris airport for more than 10 hours. Some of these passengers who were in transit had been there for over 24 hours, and their plans for connecting flights was totally disrupted in the process due to the domino effect of this delay. But there is a regulation in EU law, EC 261, that holds airlines financially accountable when their air travel takes an unexpected turn, so as long as the disruption was not caused by circumstances outside the airline's control. Depending on your flight scenario and ultimate destination, understanding passenger flights and filing for EU airline compensation can mean up to 600 euros per person. We're heading for a short break, but stay with us. In our usual tradition, we are about to step into the real deal of the program with our wonderful guests. Lawyer and businesswoman Bola Ayeni, Senior Special Assistant to the DG Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority Ifueko Abdulmalik, and Media Strategist and Crisis Communications Manager Michael Achimugu. Perspectives return in just a moment. Well, that must have been quite a big stress, having to wait for up to 10 hours in an airport, waiting and hoping. Before we get into our distinguished guests, let's spare a number of minutes to listen to some of the very distraught Air France passengers at the airport in Paris.
Yeah, my name is Noguer Megasin. I'm on a flight to Lagos. I think the flight today, Air France 132. I have my brothers from Nigeria also sitting down here that have all been delayed for hours. I have a gentleman sitting down just in front of me that came in from Canada, landed at 8 o'clock this morning. And we're all giving vouchers of 15 euros. You can see we have over 200 Nigerians sitting down at the airport without proper respect and compensation from Air France. They're giving the people 15 euros voucher for somebody that landed at 8 a.m. this morning. Between 8 a.m., that's a 14 hours transit. No hotel, just 15 euros. I think is discriminatory and it is unacceptable. If it's an American flight, they will not do that. People are just sitting down doing nothing. Over 200 passengers. You can see on the other side, you can see the Nigerians sitting down. Gentlemen, please, can you just tell me about your small story coming from Toronto, please?
Yeah, I actually came from Vancouver this morning. I landed around 8 a.m. Since 8 a.m. it was about 12 p.m. that we got a mail that our flight has been shifted. Even before that, they changed our gates. We're at one far gate. It's about almost like 3 kilometers from. We have to change the gate, pass through security again to be here. At the end of the day, they said they have changed our time again from 4 to 10 p.m. And that's about almost 14 hours plus waiting. And after that, we went to complain. They gave us 15 euro voucher, which is unbelievable. Of course, I was able to buy water, since, and one bread. And it's not acceptable. That's just it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you just say your name if you don't mind?
My name is Additional.
We have other Nigerians sitting down here that are experiencing the same thing. Gentlemen, where are you from, please?
I come from France.
For France, okay. You can see There are Nigerians sitting down on the other side also. Also sitting down all over the lounge. We have over 200 of us sitting down here without compensation. I think people with their children are also sitting down here. Air France have decided to threaten me of not even allowing me to fly if I continue to video them. I was asked by the police to actually leave the lounge, even though my seat was 1A, 1D. It's not a problem. Thank you very much. God bless. Please, I have another client here sitting down from Air France, another passenger that has another ordeal. I just want her to say her name and what she's gone through with Air France. Same issue, people sitting down around doing nothing. Over 300 passengers. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, good evening. My name is Stella. So my ordeal started with KLM Air France on Sunday on the 14th. I was going to Belgrade via Amsterdam, and then we got to Amsterdam at 6 a.m. I initially had a 4 hours waiting period, which I was aware of. We were supposed to fly out of Amsterdam at 10 a.m. to arrive Belgrade at 12:15 p.m. On getting there, they told me at before 10 a.m., a few minutes before 10, that the flight had been cancelled till 1 p.m. We waited till 1 p.m. They said it was cancelled till 10 p.m. that night. After so much back and forth, even assessing the customer care, the queue can take you like 2 hours and the wait time. It was so frustrating. Nobody is saying anything to you. If you don't ask for voucher for a meal or something, they are just mute. They're not saying anything. Eventually, they put me on a flight at around 9 p.m. We left Amsterdam to Belgrade at 9 p.m. and I arrived at 11. On getting to Belgrade, my luggage was nowhere to be found. They checked their system, they couldn't track it. So I had to leave the airport at 1 a.m. to start going to my hotel. Eventually, the following day at around 12:01 in the afternoon, they brought my luggage and that's how they were able to sort that out. Now, going back to Nigeria from Belgrade, this is via Air France. I took my flight left Belgrade at 6:40 a.m. Got here at around past 9, and then I was supposed to leave here at I think 3:30 or 4:30. So when I arrived there at past 9, like about an hour, I received a text message that my flight has been cancelled, and I go to ask them why I was due, but I actually have an exam tomorrow I'm going to write. That this is going to disrupt all my plans for Saturday, and they said there's nothing they can do, that it's a technical issue or something like that. So I'm supposed to have arrived Nigeria 9:40 p.m. today, but it is now we're going to be arriving at 3:25 a.m. That's if the flight leaves at 10. What do you call it? At 10? I think 10:05 p.m.
Yeah.
So they just leave you blank that way. They change up your gate or something. The gate I was in is a different gate from I think they had to go through the immigration and all that.
They changed the terminal because they're putting us in the corner terminal, the rejected terminal, because the other terminal was much better. This one, there's no heating. They've thrown you to the corner side. It's cold, yeah.
The officials are not even doing their best. You are telling them what your challenges are and the impact of you missing, not getting to your destination on time. They even seem unbothered, and that's the most painful part.
Yeah, you was asking them politely. They call police on
them. They seem unbothered.
So did they give you a voucher?
Yes, they did.
For how much?
15 euros. It's 30 euros.
Oh, yeah.
They gave you 30. Okay, they gave a lot of people 15 euros.
Because I've been here since morning.
Because they for lunch.
Some people have been here since yesterday.
See, some people have been here since yesterday. Some people didn't even get vouchers at all. So you were lucky.
They are not asking. I asked.
Okay, if you don't ask.
Yeah, if you don't ask, they won't give you accepted there.
Huh?
The one they gave to me,
yeah.
I wanted to use it, was not accepted. They said that, yes.
That is not accepted.
Then I went back to the customer service. They asked me to go elsewhere. I went there, the same thing. I left that.
So your own is not even working. Your voucher is not working.
It didn't work.
It's not accessible. My God.
If you want, I have an extra one.
That was a very comprehensive report. And that keys us into the guest segment of the show, where we have someone who is ready to share her own story of a similar experience as those passengers we saw witnessed. Bola Ayeni, a lawyer and businesswoman, was a victim of a recent Turkish Airlines debacle and has been very vocal about how the rights of passengers are overlooked when cancellations are made without notice. Like I said, she is here today to discuss her plight, frustration, and observation of the said incident. Joining us as well is Ifueko Abdulmalik, who is Assistant General Manager, Consumer Protection, and also Senior Special Assistant to Director General, Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. In addition to that, Ifueko is also the head of Flight Operations and Adjudication Unit in the agency. To make the Consumer Protection Department more visible and impactful in resolving passenger complaints, the NCAA introduced the Face of Aviation Consumer Protection, FACP, and crowned Abdulmalik as their maiden face. Last but certainly not the least of our guests on the show today is Michael Achimugu, a renowned media strategist and crisis communications manager. He was formerly a special assistant to the Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development before his appointment as Director, Consumer Protection and Public Affairs at the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. A warm welcome to you all on Perspectives today. So let's even first start, before we get on to the Turkish Airlines incident, let's start with the Paris incident, for instance. How did you feel when you saw that video, Michael?
Thank you very much. As is always the case with the NCAA, it's sad to see Nigerians inconvenienced, you know. However, sometimes some of these reports we get may be due to ignorance on the part of passengers. And this isn't to immediately take sides with the airline, because there are different reasons for flight disruptions. And I must make it clear that flight disruptions is a global phenomenon.
We know that.
Yes.
We know that.
You know, and again, it will never end. It
Yeah,
can
we
be
know
reduced. Yes.
Yeah, go on. We
now,
know
okay, with regards to the France incident, there was no 10-hour delay. The delay was actually for 6 hours, because the flight was moved from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. That's a 6-hour delay. I think that where the misconception comes from is for the passengers from the US and Canada who already had a 7-hour connection time. So they were combining that connection time with the actual number of delays.
But even that in itself is also an inconvenience, especially for people who had to make connecting flights. Because a lady, you could see that there was a lady who complained about the obstacles and the challenges she faced because of this supposed delay. And then secondly, I mean, £15 voucher for a 10 or 6 hour or however long wait that you say it is that justifiable? Ifueko, let me ask you that.
Well, even the Nigeria Civil Aviation Regulation says that for delays up to 4 hours, the passengers are entitled to refreshment, meals. So in this case, instead of providing the meals, they give them the vouchers to get refreshments at the airport. Okay,
there's also the EU 261, which says that you are entitled to a £600 voucher if there has been a disruption, cancellation, or delay in your flight. And the delay can start from anytime after 4 hours. So in that situation now, for instance, why did the EC 261 law not apply?
It applied, but passengers have to file for the compensation.
Yeah, but how are passengers made to know that? What awareness is being created for passengers to know that they have these rights?
Well, in Nigeria, if there's a disruption, the airline should give passengers a notice of their rights. That's what should happen, and I believe that's what happened there. Or the airline would have notified the passengers of their rights under the EU law.
But clearly they were not notified from what you could see in the videos. Okay, let me ask Bola. Bola, you're a lawyer.
Yes.
Assuming you had been a passenger, of course we'll still talk about your situation with Turkish Airlines, but assuming you had been been a passenger on this Paris flight that we just saw, how would you have felt with the kind of responses that you're getting from NCAA?
Well, at least I would have felt better that I was offered some form of refreshment or a voucher to get refreshments, and the airlines were actually addressing the issue that they had been delayed and there was a cancellation or however long. I probably might not have known because I'm not really aware of this law that entitles you to compensation. I mean, it's nice to have that information, which I believe a lot of passengers don't know their rights anyway. So, and the airlines don't sensitize you to the rights that available to you, like this instance of Turkish Airlines. We don't know, passengers don't know their rights.
Okay, before we get to, now that, so basically what you're saying about the Paris flights, Michael and Ifueko, is that first and foremost, the delay wasn't as long as it was portrayed. You did your investigations and you found that out.
Yes.
So in other words, the passengers had no business being disgruntled?
No, of course, having been kept at the airport for that long, I mean, the flight was supposed to be 4 o'clock and it was delayed to 10.
Yeah, but were they given enough notice to know that their flight was going to be delayed? That's another thing. Were they notified that their flight was going to be delayed, or it was when they got to the airport they realized that the flight was going to be delayed?
Yeah, see, sometimes there are certain aspects where the airline is allowed to notify you no matter how late. For instance, this flight was delayed due tech, meaning that there were technical issues that were discovered shortly before the flight was supposed to take off. And so, because passengers are not always all converged in one spot, it's difficult sometimes to come and speak to them physically. That's why emails were sent. Emails were sent notifying all of them.
In this particular incident?
In this particular incident of the delay.
Okay, so the complaint was more about the 15, also about the 15 euro, because if somebody has been delayed for 10, 15 hours or a whole day, 15 euro is peanuts.
Well, there was no, again, it's 6 hours. There was no 15-hour delay in this instance.
Okay, let's get back to, let's now even talk about the one that is now on ground. The one that is now on ground, which was the Turkish Airlines that has caused so much controversy. And you, Madam Bola, has been the voice, the loudest voice in this situation. And you have attracted more furor from the public because of this. So please tell us what your experience was like.
Well, I got to the airport about 6 o'clock. And
what day was this? Was last Tuesday?
This was on Monday, no, Tuesday, sorry, okay. Tuesday the 21st. So I got to the airport around 6 o'clock, and I noticed some people at the check-in counter, and they were singing like their union song or whatever. So I thought, oh, where are these, maybe they're from the Delta people that are going on the flight or something. So I got there, and then, nothing was happening. There were no people at the check-in counter. So what some of the other passengers now said, oh, it's the NLC, they're picketing the airline. So I was like, oh, really, are we going or we're not going? And everybody was like, we don't really know. So it was like, after maybe waiting for about an hour and a half, we decided, okay, let's go to the Turkish Airlines office to find out whether or not this flight is actually going to go, or to just find out what was happening. We didn't find anybody there. The offices were closed. And so we waited and we waited and we waited. One of the passengers was actually invited into a meeting that was going on between the NLC and FAN and some other officials.
One of the passengers of the flight?
Yes, that was on the flight. But he reported that they hadn't reached any conclusion and that they didn't know what was going to happen, and they was asked to leave.
What was discussed in the meeting?
The demands of the NLC, which they now said that, okay, they were going to change their demands from dismissal to, I don't know the issues really between NLC and the airline, but apparently the general manager, Lukman Balkin or whatever, wasn't having any of it, and he was saying that they're not compromising, they're not admitting any of these allegations, and they're not meeting the demands of the NLC. So we went back to the check-in area. We were just going back and forth, really. So at some point, around 26 p.m., we all got text messages and emails from the airline that the flight has been cancelled.
This was how many minutes before the flight was supposed to take off?
29 minutes, precisely, before departure. So we're now like, okay, what's going to happen? Are they going to be put into hotels? Some people had come from Port Harcourt, Ondo State, all over the country. And by this time, everybody now started getting disgruntled. Mind you, they had been waiting patiently, trying to find out what was happening. So we now make our way back to the Turkish Airlines office. And we're like, okay, let's see this general manager. We've been here for hours. You've not even offered us water. You haven't even given us any explanation. Nobody has spoken to the passengers. So we were asked to wait. And of course, by this time, everybody was getting rowdy and unruly. So we appealed to the FAN officials that, look, let us even meet with these Turkish airline people. Let them talk to us and tell us what is going to happen and tell us what they are going to do about all these stranded passengers here. So they said, okay, we should pick 4 people. Everybody else should go back to the new terminal. And they will talk to us and have the GM come and address us. So they put us in a conference room. And we waited and we waited and we waited. We waited another 2 hours before the man...
So by this time, this was around 11 o'clock at night?
Maybe, yes, probably about 11. So we waited and we waited. He didn't come out. He now said, oh, he's not coming out. He's afraid for his own security.
Why? Was he being manhandled, or were there irate customers creating
because they were in the office, in the fan office.
Okay.
And we were in the conference room.
Okay.
So he said, oh, he can't come and see us because he's afraid for his safety. So I said, okay, I'm a woman. Let me go in. At least I'm not going to attack him in the presence of men. Let him just come and tell us what he's going to do. Let them offer these people water. There was a woman with 2 young children, came from Benin, nowhere to go. Her children were screaming and crying for hours. So I said, okay, at least come and address these people. At least give us an explanation. Tell us what you're going to do about our plight. So he now said, no, he's not coming out and he's not addressing us. So first, by this time, we're like, okay, fine. So we will wait. At least you will come out at some point and you have to go home. So when he eventually came out, of course, we all now ran after him, me included, and other passengers, demanding that at least come and address us, talk to us. We can't just be here. We might have been on Cameroon Airlines or any other airlines for all you could know that we didn't, Turkish Airlines did not respond to us at all.
Okay.
So that was basically what happened. And I just feel that the rights and obligations need to be addressed because we're entitled to some form of compensation for being in the airports, even according to your rules and regulations. They're supposed to provide refreshments. Okay. Whatever reason was for the delay, whether it was NLC, engine failure, whatever,
Okay. The video is showing on air right now. I don't know whether we can add some volume to it, but I mean, this is your video, Bola. So,
okay.
Yes, and then what you said there is basically what you have said now. So let's just hear.
Lost water. They are supposed those of them that have waited for this God-forsaken airline who has not even bothered to address anybody. All these people, old, young, infants, all sitting up here. No representative of Turkish Airlines came to address anybody. They haven't spoken to anybody, even pure water. Nobody was given pure water. Not to talk about any voucher to buy food or a hotel. Young, old, infants, small children, people everywhere. The airline has not even bothered to address anybody. And the Nigerian farm workers decided to smuggle the GM out. We want him removed from this country. He's not capable of running an airline. The aircraft went back empty. The aircraft was empty.
As you guys can see, this was, Bola here was a very irate customer, and I'm sure she spoke on behalf of every other passenger that was on that flight. So I want to ask you, Ifueko, what's the update? As a body being in charge of consumer care and protection and clients, what's your update with TA so far, Turkish Airlines so far, on this issue?
I think Mr. Achimugu should answer that.
Okay.
As soon as this report got to me at 1 a.m., I was actually in hospital in Abuja when I got this report. And Ifueko and I boarded the first available flight to come mediate these issues. Ordinarily, labor issues are not the purview of the NCAA, but we had to do what we had to do in collaboration with the FAN. We had met with Turkish. As far as the airline is concerned, it was force majeure. Force majeure being circumstances beyond their own control. That were not the fault of the passengers or the fault of the airline. We are still investigating the principles of it. But the first concern of the NCAA in such circumstances is to do whatever is necessary to get the passengers to their destination safely. Now, we met also with the union and asked them, can you suspend this action so that the stranded passengers who are fellow Nigerian citizens can make their flights? Because others were stuck also in Istanbul, right?
Okay.
And the unions, gracefully agreed to suspend action. The airline needed assurances from both FAN and the NCAA that they will be able to carry out their operations, safely and securely. We gave them those guarantees, and yesterday they did put out a statement to begin their operations today.
Okay, we're going on a break now because there's some things I want to ask you about that. I'm not too satisfied with that answer, but we're going on a break now, and Don't go anywhere. Grab your cup of tea, as I always say, and see you right back in Perspectives in a second or two. See you soon. So we are going to continue with the conversation that we were having earlier on about this Turkish airline saga. So let's move down to you, Mr. Michael. I mean, you explained that regulations have been made and now the airlines are working again, blah, blah, blah. But what about the inconvenience meted out on the passengers of that particular flight? What has been done to address their own grievances? Yeah,
like I said earlier, if it's force majeure, the airline would not owe the passengers compensation because the airline is not responsible for the events that happened that day. However, we are looking into the issues to determine if the airline could have done anything differently on that day, and where we determine that it was not force majeure, then the issue of compensations will come in. However, the airline, when we spoke with them on the day, did say they had sent emails out to the passengers telling them they could ask for refund or they could apply to be reprotected on another airline.
Now that you said that, let's even pause again briefly. I want to show another video of another family that was a victim of this cancelled Turkish airline flights. Can we have that video soon, please? Do you have the videos of the family that had to sleep at the airport? Do we have the video? Anyway.
My children at the airport, Murtala Mohammed International Airport, were supposed to board a flight to Turkey and then from Turkey to Atlanta via Turkish Airlines. But the situation we met on ground was terrible. We met NLC protesting and ensured that the airline, Turkish Airlines, did not check in their passengers. So we are now stranded in the departure hall here. But we give glory to God. We give thanks to God for all He's doing, all He has done, and the wonderful and great thing that He's going to do. We are not disturbed. We know God is taking us somewhere. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. It's a story, it's a testimony that will lift up somebody. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. I see my children are lying down with a carton on the floor. I don't have a place to lie down. I only have to sit on the chair and sleep off now so that I'll be fit in the morning to continue the running around to see the help of God upon us so that we can take our flight. Thank you, Lord.
I mean, this is almost dehumanizing, you know. This, I mean, it just breaks your heart to see that happen. Bola, you said you wrote a letter to the minister.
Yes, aside from the letter to the minister, I'd just like to draw a differentiation because my sister was booked on the Turkish Airlines flight from Manchester and we were supposed to meet in Turkey on the 22nd. She got to the airport and she had checked in her bags on the Turkish Airlines to Istanbul when she got a text message that her flight had been cancelled. And because she has a British passport, they said to her, oh, you have the option of going on to Turkey and we'll take you on the 24th. So I said, don't even try it because this airline is not going to fly. Initially, they felt that it was a general thing in Nigeria, but they now got an update that there was this issue with NLC. So same situation, same force majeure. So they said to her, oh, we'll put you on Air Morocco. We'll take you to Casablanca from Istanbul. Then you can go on Air Morocco to Nigeria. So the Turkish Airlines staff said, oh, no, you have 2 young children. It's a 10-hour layover. It will be too much. We will put you on British Airways to London, and then we will connect you on Virgin to Nigeria, which they did. The BA flight was delayed, and she had to now rebook. They put her on British Airways. They told them that they will give them a hotel. Unfortunately, there was Chelsea Flower Show. They can go to any hotel, book in the region of £250 per person. They'll pay for their taxi. And they gave them toiletries, clothes, nighties, everything. This is the same incident that disturbed and that happened in Nigeria. And then people's children are sleeping on the floor. So what is the difference? It's the same airline. Why are our rights not being met? Even as customers, You have customer service, even if you're not bound by law. Why would I want to go on Turkish Airways ever again and give them my hard-earned money?
You even said you wrote a letter to the minister. What did he reply?
Yes,
what was his response?
the minister responded immediately, which I was quite impressed with, as did the NLC. Everybody has actually responded timely. But when they sent the letter, he said to me that, they were speaking to the ambassador and that a statement was going to be made about passengers' welfare. So 2 days later, I said, Your Excellency, I haven't heard anything, any statements anywhere about what's going to happen. So he said, he sent me the press release of Turkish Airlines, and he sent a joint press release of FAN and NCAA. And I was like, there's nothing here that talks about the obligations of the passengers.
I was trying to address before. Our primary objective is to first get passengers safely to destination. Then we will look at the issues, the facts of the matter, and determine if passengers are due compensation. You can't have a flight to catch and be staying behind to be fighting for that compensation. We are the ones who will still process your compensation. Yes. So you get safely to destination first, and then we can help you process if you are deserving of compensation.
Let me ask.
The difference is where your sister was coming from. The problem wasn't in that point. So it's easier for the airline to put things together to get passengers to the destination.
No. With all due respect, we've been stuck here from other airlines. Even passengers that were stranded said in particular, I was on Virgin, they put us in a hotel. I was in this, they did that. They didn't have any problems. But the day after, even according to your laws and regulations, in part 19 of your regulations, it says that they should then reroute people's tickets. They had flights to Abuja, and then they're supposed to bear the cost. They had flights flying out of Abuja. I didn't want to take that option because the NLC had said they were most likely going to continue their picketing there. But some customers took the option and went on. They didn't pay for their tickets to Abuja.
Who paid? So the airline didn't pay for the tickets?
No, they did not.
But you see, you have to buy the ticket to get to Abuja and then file claims to get that.
But passengers are not aware of these rights, and the airline is not sanitizing.
But in your sister's case, who paid for their tickets?
They didn't pay for any of their tickets. They just endorsed
because the airline is working in that country. Unlike Nigeria, the airlines cannot get to their office. They can't go into their office.
They don't have an office.
They can't go into the airport office.
Okay, can I ask one question? Sorry. Can I ask one question? What about people who had already paid for hotels abroad?
They can file for claims.
So they can file for claims. And they can also file from the claim of, for claim of paying for ticket from Lagos to Abuja.
Whatever claims they have, file for them and you get it.
Okay, well, what you were saying? What were you saying?
I was just going to say that nobody prevented them from going into their offices.
You see, and this is...
with all due respect, even if the white man was scared that, these Nigerians are going to attack me, he could have sent one of his members of staff to say, excuse me, there's a protest going on.
Yeah, but that lack of communication was a bit of a problem.
The protest had been going on even before passengers got to the airline. They could have sent us text messages hours before that there's a protest, there's a likelihood that this flight might not take off.
Respectfully, ma'am, if I may, educate you here a little bit. See, the major problem as of this moment, while investigations are still ongoing, is that of lack of communication on time.
Whose fault is that?
Now, it's nobody's fault as of this moment because the airline is saying they were scared for their lives.
Yeah, but even if they were scared for their lives, what stopped them from sending emails? The same way they sent
emails.
They sent emails. The first email or text message came at 2026. No, there was no communication prior to that, and there's been no communication after it.
In fact, the only communication was when they sent you an email saying that the flight had been cancelled.
Yes,
that was the first
and only communication.
Why wasn't this communication done hours before? During the time of the ticketing.
In fact, let me tell you something. There was one lady, a Turkish staff person, little girl, and we saw her in the corridor by the fan office. So I went to her and I said, look, you're a Turkish
Airlines staff.
Yes. She was wearing their uniform. I said, look, what is happening? Where are we going? Are we not going? Where are your people? Come and talk to the passengers. People are going to, this was before they canceled. People are beginning to get a bit agitated. She said, all the staff are on the tarmac. clearing passengers that were boarding, and I was like, that's crap, because if the flight was going to take off, you would still clear your passengers from the tarmac. So you need to get somebody to come and talk to the passengers and tell us what is going on. That's the least. And even under your act, they have a minimum duty of care, which they owe to passengers, which was non-existent.
Yes, for flight disruptions, the airline should provide information. It's important.
As and when necessary.
As and when necessary. In fact, once you say that the flight will be disrupted, you have 30 minutes to inform passengers of that disruption. But I understand that discussions and negotiations were ongoing, so it's possible that, that hindered that process and all of that. But still, we are talking to Turkish Airlines to see how passengers can be compensated. Maybe not compensation, but, to see how they can offer something for the inconveniences.
I want to ask one question. Has Turkish Airlines actually offered a public apology to this passengers?
You see, this is where it's a very complex issue.
Why is it complex?
It's
pretty straightforward.
No, it's not so straightforward. Reason being that, once again, the airline is saying this was force majeure. What do the regulations say about force majeure? Is the airline responsible for the picketing of their operations?
Are the passengers responsible for the picketing of their...
Okay, it's just like the case
But you're an organization and you have a brand to run.
You see, for passengers, we have a duty to educate passengers. Yes, but passengers also have a responsibility to educate themselves about these travels and what the regulations say. A lot of the times, yesterday, an Arise staff, whose name I will not mention, called me from Abuja Airport, very angry because his flight was delayed from Abuja. But that flight was delayed due to weather.
Okay.
Even the plane before theirs on the runway, Ibom Air, could not fly. So it was definitely weather. And then the person is expecting to be given accommodation. That's not what the regulation says. So most times passengers get angry about these things because of the inconvenience, and we empathize. However, we do not operate outside the scope of the regulations.
Mr. Michael, you're not getting my point.
What is the point?
There are irate passengers who have been kept waiting for hours on end, who were only attended to 20 minutes before the flight takeoff. Before that 20 minutes, how long were you guys in the airport waiting for your flight, Bola?
2.5, 3 hours.
So you had 2.5, 3 hours of very angry patients, frustrated, people sleeping on the floor. No, please, can I land?
2 hours before.
No, it didn't start 2 hours before. The picketing had started. Even that was why I don't know what time it started. And I've even asked the other passengers to provide me with that information. Because that is always... When I got to the airport, they were there already. So they could have been there at 2 o'clock. They could have been there at 4 o'clock. I don't know when. I don't know when it started. But the longer they were there, the more irresponsible of Turkish Airlines not to inform their passengers that this thing is going on at the airport. So you have a choice of whether you want to come and try and take the flight or not. You can't email
but there was even a station master there, right? I'm assuming.
The station manager. Yes.
So was it not up to the station manager to even come and verbally apologize? Because the picketing has nothing to do with passengers. It's not the passengers' business.
But they were only allowed to open their counter.
But they had an office, and their office was closed. The picketing staff didn't go to their office.
But my point is
the NLC were in the room.
Listen, madam, the essence of picketing in the first place is to stop operations. Yeah. So the picketers were peaceful. It would have degenerated had the airline staff made a move to work. That is the point.
No, we're not talking about working. We're talking about
coming to address you. We're talking about work. It's part of their duties.
No.
At the risk, or even under your act, even when there's a forced the airline has a duty of care towards its passengers. I read the act yesterday. It's a duty of care. I'm not even talking about compensation now.
The duty of care arises when there's a delay or cancellation, right? And now there's a time frame for that. Like light refreshment, for instance, is if for international flights after 4 hours, right? That had not happened. Now, while the picketing had started, negotiations were ongoing. The airline could have cancelled the flight immediately, but they were hopeful that negotiations would have been conclusive. Do you understand?
But they could have informed us.
That is why they where in the absence of the opportunity to physically inform you, address you, they had the option to send an email, which they did.
They did not.
They showed me
20 minutes before.
20 minutes before.
It is still information.
No, it's not. If it's not good enough, and these are the things that I as an individual feel that you as a regulatory body should enforce these things, because it's the difference between.
Can I ask a question? Sorry, Mr. Michael. Let me ask one one question personally. In fact, Ifueko, let me ask you that question. Is that what is the longest time that you can give before a flight is cancelled?
A flight can be cancelled after 6 hours. In fact, from 6 hours, it's
my point is, as a passenger in that Turkish Airlines flight now, I still believe that my flight is going to go at a certain time. What's the closest time between that time that you can give me?
After 6 hours. After 6 hours.
So I will know 6 hours in advance that the flight has been cancelled.
No. Information on a flight cancellation.
I'm asking the information of the cancellation of the flight.
7 days. That's if the airline knows that the flight will be cancelled.
So you do accept that it is not it is enough to irk any customer or any passenger only finding out that their flight has been cancelled 20 minutes before.
This is an extraordinary circumstance.
It
is not. Yes.
Even because we are expectful that they would have informed us. They are already aware of the situation.
Yeah, which I say even in extraordinary circumstances, extraordinary measures should be taken. Because right now what you're doing is saying you are justifying Turkish Airlines not apologizing, not keeping their passengers abreast of what was happening.
Absolutely not.
No,
that's not
correct. The issue here is not that of an apology. We're talking about
information.
An apology would
information.
Information was
than nothing. I didn't get anything. The only person that apologized was a fan official, and it was so refreshing. I actually said to him, "Oh, thank you so much for that apology." Because he said, "Oh, madam, we are really sorry for the inconvenience." And it was like such a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
But that is not his responsibility to do that.
It is not his responsibility, and he was not the one being picketed. He was not the one who was afraid.
Yeah, but you keep talking
about what kind of fear? There was nothing to be afraid of. I'm sorry. You know that man was not afraid because everybody said he was banging his hand on the table.
Wait, Bola, listen. And please, Michael, you listen too. I can understand the picketing issue. I can understand the picketing causing a spanner in their works in terms of operational whatever. But what I cannot comprehend is that you are still justifying their lack of communication to the customers who were left stranded.
No, this is not true. I did say a few minutes here ago that the major problem, I say as of this moment, was the lack of proper information, communication.
Yes.
That was why I invited the airline, because our regulations stipulate that every airline must have a very efficient, properly working customer.
Okay.
Yes. So, but however, given the circumstance, if they cannot physically come and meet passengers, I was at the airport myself. After meeting with the airline and the union, I went to see the passengers. You were not there. So sorry?
What time?
It was in the evening. The videos are there. Please, I don't lie about such things.
No, I'm not saying you're lying. Of course, I'm just wondering where I was.
You came to my office afterwards, and I did tell you that I was there.
And you were very helpful.
I received you, and I did tell you I was there because I care about the passengers. But the issue is, just like I got there and a lot of the passengers were scattered, it's the same thing too in these circumstances for some airlines sometimes. It's not about Turkish. Everybody who knows me knows that I'll be the last person to come out and defend an airline where they have committed infractions. But the issue is where the airline fails to physically address you, they have the option to send emails. It's a form of communication as well.
Yeah, and the also, airline... depending on the time that the email is sent. Because somebody sent you an email and your flight has been cancelled 20 minutes before.
See, once again, you see, sorry, let me speak. Where a flight is delayed, we fly as well, even as regulators. And we too get aggravated when some of these things happen, right? The issue is, for the passenger, they just want to get to their destination, so they have a right to be angry. But for us, we will look at the cause of that delay. So it's not about the sentiments of it.
So are you saying now, because the cause of the delay was picketing, nothing is going to happen to them? The passengers' grievances are not going to be addressed?
We have said that our primary task is to be able to secure this safe travel for those passengers especially.
Okay, let me give you an example.
When you have gotten to destination, that is, assuming you are still flying,
can I ask you a question?
You can file for compensation, which we will still be the ones to process for you. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so you are saying that the passengers it's within their rights to file for compensation.
It's within their rights, absolutely. That's what I've been saying.
Okay. Now, this compensation issue that passengers have, why has the attention not been drawn to it, whereby people are now more aware? How can you make this more, create more awareness about this? How can you make it more vocal? Because, I mean, Bola is just one of the many passengers that was irate, but she's one of the few that has come out to come and talk about her predicament. So how can you enlighten passengers on their rights, on what to do when situations like this happen? Let me ask you, Ifueko.
We do that all the time. In fact, that's something we're really working on at the moment. We have a lot of jingles, we have enlightenment, awareness programs, we have advertisements in newspapers and all of that. It's something that you would see a lot of in the days coming.
Yeah. You know why I asked that question?
Even at the airports now.
Yeah, I asked that question because of what Bola, what you said in your group chats, that there were some people who were still oblivious of what to do.
Yes, well, even I, because it was when I read the act, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Regulations yesterday, that I found out that I can actually file a complaint on their website.
Before that, you didn't know?
No, which, by the way, is not working because I tried to submit it 3 times and it didn't go. Yes.
It's there. Well,
the form is there, but I didn't sleep until 4 a.m. because I was getting ready. And I read the answer and I said, oh, I can file a complaint on their website, which I wasn't aware of.
Okay.
And I tried to do that.
But there are alternative ways, and which
of
we have
course
been
there
loud
are,
about.
Yes.
In fact, even the Honourable Minister himself spoke about this on our
Yeah, but she's a victim and she's just saying that she wasn't aware of it.
But even at the airport, we have screens showing the NCAA, consumer protection regulations.
The airlines are not going to tell you that, oh, if we don't fly, you're entitled to £600 compensation.
It's very important, madam, and every other passenger as well, that when we talk about passenger rights, you should also not forget passengers' responsibilities. You have a responsibility to educate yourself about every information that concerns your travel. If you were aware of this before now, because the same way you read it now, you could have read it before. You are even a lawyer.
Yes, I read it now, but I do know my rights, and that is why I kicked up a fuss, because I know that I can't be stranded at an airport anywhere else in the world, be it for picketing, be it for engine failure. I can be stranded, but I won't be treated the way Turkish Airlines treated us. It is never going to happen.
Which is exactly why, number one, I left Abuja and came here. 2, I did not limit the work to meeting with the airline and the picketers. I came to meet with the passengers and empathize. NCAA, we've been on top of this. And even the Honourable Minister himself showed such empathy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know that if we had enough time, we'll discuss this thing till the cows come home. But bottom line, the message has been given out there that, all these airlines need to step up their game and work on their relationships with their clients. Nobody wants to travel on any airline and be left with a sour taste after one disappointment or the other. So thank you so much, Mr. Michael. Thank you so much, Ifueko. And thank you so much, my very good friend, Bola.
Oh, so she's your friend?
Yes, she's my sister.
Okay. Thank you so much for being with us here on Perspectives. Now, a crisis is a change, more specifically a bad change. And change requires a response. It's important that companies and organizations, including airlines, accept responsibilities for their actions, be accountable for their results, and take ownership of their mistakes. Even though your brand is what you do, your reputation is what people remember. PR, whether good or bad, is infinitely more effective than a front ad page. How you leave others feeling after an experience with you is what becomes your trademark. And as I always say, life is a learning curve. So that's all we have time for today. You've been watching Perspectives here with me on Arise News. Ruth, Osime. See you next week. Do have a fantastic week.